Hello, you guys. I do just want to give a quick trigger warning for this week's episode. As you've probably seen from the title of this video, I am discussing the themes of eating disorders, and I understand that this can be a very triggering topic for some people to listen to. If this is you, maybe just skip this week's episode and tune in next week. And if anyone you know or yourself needs support with an eating disorder or needs any help with an eating disorder, I'm going to leave a bunch of support lines for you to utilize if that is you. Thank you so much, and let's get into this episode. Welcome to 19 Miles, the podcast dedicated to propelling you 19 miles forward. I'm Stella, your host, and each week we deep dive into powerful stories, my unsolicited advice, and how you can overcome adversity and unlock your true potential. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of 19 Miles. This time we are remembering to have the light on. I can't believe I literally recorded an entire episode and didn't even realize that the light wasn't on behind me. Live, laugh, love. Anyways, we move. I just want to say, oh my gosh, you guys literally went crazy for last week's episode. I did not expect that. I thought I was kind of just, I guess I didn't realize how much you guys enjoyed just the conversational bestie chat. And we quadrupled our listens last week, and I just can't believe how many new people are here and how many of you guys enjoyed that episode. I'm just so grateful. So thank you so much if that was you, and for supporting me. If you haven't already, please make sure to rate the podcast. It really, really supports me and helps these episodes get pushed out to more of you. And make sure if you're not following already, follow so that you stay up to date with all of the episodes. Before we get into this week's episode, I do want to give a quick little best, worst, and new perspective. So, my best. I'm actually so excited. So, a little manifestation story. And I shared this on my Instagram, but I really had to practice what I preach recently. So, I was having a bit of, I don't want to say beef, but not being treated very well from a brand that I had, was not being treated very well by an activewear brand, and I was quite upset. I was kind of talking to Big Daddy about it, saying it just was a bit shitty, and it sucked because it was something that I really enjoyed creating content for, and I did like the brand, but there was definitely faults, and I guess the biggest issue was not feeling respected. And I was talking to him about that, and I kind of said mention these two brands, and I was like, that is the dream. Imagine working with them. And he was like, of course you could. And I was like, do you know what's so true? I need to practice what I preach and walk away. I always say, don't beg anybody to see your worth. And if you have to convince someone to see how much you're worth, walk away. And rejection is redirection, and you just have to trust that when you stick by your standards and have consequences for them not being respected, then you, by letting that go, you allow, you energetically let the universe know, okay, I have the capacity now for the people that are going to meet me at where my standards are at and respect me. And literally, I don't know, a couple weeks later, I had those two brands reach out days apart wanting to discuss me being an athlete for them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did not just do this. So I am officially an athlete for both Velocity Activewear, which is a cute little Australian brand. Actually, they're not little at all. They've got so much stuff, but they are Australian made. And also for Define, which I'm sure you guys know so much about, if maybe not, but I've been obsessed with them for so long. And Velocity I had recently bought from because I still want to support an Australian business. And do you know what? I've actually had questions about this of why I'm promoting both of them. And I do want to point out the major differences from both of them. And also because I feel there's just, if you're a gym girl, you know that you can never have enough activewear. The limit does not exist. And so I personally shop from all different brands and have enjoyed different things about different brands. And I don't think that you should, for me, it didn't feel authentic to just work with one. So that's why I'm working with both. I see differences in both of them. for me define, I feel, is more of like your gym girl weights. It's very sucks you in and lifts the booty and stuff like that. And it's, like a lot more, I would say, quite sturdy. And then Velocity, I would say, is more, it's more lifestyle. Like they've got tracksuits, and actually Define have just brought out some tracksuits for their birthday. But I tend to lean towards Velocity for more of a lifestyle kind of feeling, like going for walks, like a little bit less, like more of a buttery, softer material. But it's still like super flattering, and they do have like, there's just so many colors and so many different styles that they do. So yeah, I like them both for different reasons. But yeah, if you ever want to shop with them, feel free to use code Stella. I'm just gonna little shameless plug there, and that will give you a little discount off both of them. But yeah, I don't think I have a worst. Oh, actually I do. I kind of shared this on my social media as well. I have been really struggling with like a regular period, and yeah, it's just not been fun. Like I have been loosely diagnosed with endometriosis, and I think my symptoms kind of definitely match up, but they said the only way to really find out is through keyhole surgery. And I was just like, there is no way you are cutting me open and leaving scars on my ovaries to see if I have endometriosis. So I never went down that route, but I have actually messaged a nutritionist who specializes in women's health. So I'm going to start exploring that avenue. But yeah, I would say that that's my worst, and my new perspective on it is like, I'm just so grateful that we have access to the resources to work on that if we wish, and that there is like options to heal it naturally. But yeah, let's get straight into this week's episode. So you would have seen by the title, we are discussing eating disorders today. Now, this is something that I have touched on a fair bit on my socials and stuff like that. And with the old podcast, I did do an episode on it, but that obviously doesn't exist anymore. So I just thought, hang on, let's just get comfortable again. Guys, I've got like my mum iPad out. It's actually so funny. But I actually love it. It's so good for productivity. I obviously have spoken about this on my socials before, and I get really good feedback from you guys. And I know that it was a very well performing episode on the last podcast. And so I kind of want to bring that back to you guys, but a little bit more organized and put together. So for those that don't know, I struggled with an eating disorder growing up. I was diagnosed with bulimia, and then I've kind of struggled with disordered eating for a long time. Not now. These days I'm very good, and like if I ever find myself triggered, I kind of fall back on these kind of coping mechanisms to make sure that I don't fall back into any of those habits, because honestly it's not worth it. It's not worth it on your mindset, your physical health, your like relationships, everything. It just has such a far and wide impact on you. And yeah, I hope that like even if this just helps one of you in giving you some kind of resources or coping mechanisms to get out of it, then like job done, amazing. But yeah, so I struggled with an eating disorder growing up. It was sort of, I don't know, I've listened to podcasts about eating disorders, and I never really want to promote them or make it like glorify it or make it look like anything, like please just like understand that they are so, so damaging to your body, and how extensive like my recovery it's not a fucking joke. It's actually really not funny at all. And I don't think people understand how serious it is on your health. Like my stomach is still fucked up from what I did as a teenager. That is not a joke. I still cannot eat certain things. Like I ruined my stomach as a result of having an eating disorder. And I can't even tell you how like frustrating and upsetting that is at like working on it for so long to still be struggling with stomach issues as a result of throwing up all the time. So please understand, there's nothing fucking positive about it's not going to make you skinny. You actually tend to put on weight because your body goes into starvation and doesn't recognize food, and then becomes intolerant to things, like doesn't know how to digest, puts on weight, you get inflamed, you get puffy. Like, there are so many fucking negative effects of an eating disorder. It is just not worth it. Like, I promise you, if there's one thing that you take away from this, it's not worth it. Anyways. So yeah, if you can't tell by my frustration and the seriousness in my voice, I have had my own long-standing experience with eating disorders. And so how I sort of recovered was, what my recovery looked like was, I was actually at a festival, and a guy that, like, one of my guy friends kind of picked up on the habits, and he was kind of pulled me aside and was like, what is going on? Like, this is not normal. And I didn't even realize at that point how not normal it was. I just thought, I feel sick, so I'm going to make myself throw up, which is not normal. If you're sitting here thinking like, isn't that normal? No, it's not fucking normal, and it is so bad for your stomach, and your teeth, and like everything. Anyway, so that was the kind of turning pivotal point for me. And then I kind of opened up to one of my best friends, and honestly, shout out to her, if she'll know exactly who she is, if she's listening to this. She was like, I don't know how I would have gotten through it without her, but she dragged me along to, like, nobody really knew how to recover from it. It wasn't really something that people were talking about too much. I would still say it's a bit of a taboo subject, but yeah, at that point, we were kind of like looked into like how to get through it, and a psychologist and a nutritionist was then recommended to me, or like I was told to start seeing one. So I saw a psychologist once a week and a nutritionist or a dietitian, I can't remember which one it were. And yeah, I remember hating it, and she would drag me along and just like drive me to the appointments and make sure that I went. And I'm glad that I went to those, because it obviously put me in the right direction of acknowledging the issue that I was having. But for me personally, I didn't find it helpful or beneficial. And I think with social media these days, we're so lucky in that there's so many resources out there for us to learn. And I mean, at the same time, it can be so detrimental, and that was so detrimental to my mindset and my mental health and all of that in that eating disorder developing. But when I decided to flip that and take back control of my life and choose social media to be a positive place, it became a really educational, like inspiring, healthy platform, like place for me. And let's quickly talk about that actually. So I was, at the time of struggling with the eating disorder, I was following so many like models and just really skinny, looking back, probably quite unhealthy weights. I was following all of those and constantly comparing myself. I was around people that would say like, oh, that girl doesn't actually look like that in person. And at that point, I was posting a lot on social media, and it just came very heavily drilled in my head that, oh, like, what if people are saying that I don't look like that in real life, or I need to look like that person, or like, and it just, it really fucked with my head, and it just became this very like comparison state of mind. And like, comparison really is the thief of joy. And if that's what social media is doing to you, then you need to, like, you can't sit there and play victim to it. You need to take control of your life, because it's not anybody's responsibility to control the way that you interpret their content. But it's up to you to take back the control and like, call yourself out on it. Stop. If anybody is making you feel triggered on social media, like, there's a mute button. You don't even have to unfollow them these days. Just mute them and make sure that the content that you're consuming is healthy and positive and that kind of thing. So that was a really good thing that I did. I started following people that inspired me, that had healthy eating habits, that were promoting like a very healthy lifestyle, and that really helped kind of just snap me out of that like comparison and that toxic side of social media. So I would definitely recommend doing that. And I think just like recognizing if you are somebody that's struggling with it. Like I remember sitting in the car before going to the gym and just like breaking down. I hated where I was. I hated who I was. I was so horrible to myself. Like I would just look in the mirror and say like, you're fat, you're like ugly, like all these like just nasty things. And yeah, I hated going to the gym. I just hated everything about myself and what I was doing to my body. And I really had to recognize that and actively pull myself out of that. I would also say there's a lot of patience and persistence and understanding that has to come along the way of this journey of recovery. And if you're somebody who's thinking like, oh, it's taking me so long, like how have I not recovered, that kind of thing, you have to understand like this is a long process and you're not alone in feeling like when those moments creep up on you that it's just never going to go away, because I promise you it does. And life now, where this disordered habit and relationship was consuming me, taking over me, now that I'm in a life where that isn't consuming me and taking over me, it's so much more enjoyable, and I have my sex drive back, and I can enjoy going out for meals, and I can eat unhealthy food and not beat myself up and hate myself over it. Or, it's just life is so much better free of that demon inside of your head. The next thing that I would say, so I obviously just mentioned that the psychologist and the nutritionist or the dietitian, for me personally, that didn't really help me. In fact, I kind of found it quite triggering. The psychologist was like, oh, you need to go and see a dietitian once a week, and you need to come and see me once a week, and we need to talk about it. And I was just like, you don't understand me. And when I went to the dietitian, she was like, you need to be eating 2,500 calories every single day. And I was like, do you actually understand that I've just gone from eating pretty much nothing every single day to eating, like, it needs to be slowly incorporated? And I found that just like so triggering and overwhelming. And if I had have known what I now know, would my recovery looked a bit better? Like quite possibly. So for me, I found it triggering, but if it works for somebody else, amazing. But if it doesn't work for you, maybe these tools that helped me might help you. So I started seeing a naturopath, and I feel like that was crucial for my recovery, because there was so much damage that I'd done internally, and there was no Western medicine that was going to help that. And when I started incorporating herbs and stuff like that into my diet, and seeing a naturopath, it really helped with healing my gut and like my insides and stuff like that alongside that recovery. Also, I just got really lucky in that my naturopath had also had a history of an eating disorder, so I felt really understood by her. Another thing that I noticed is, throughout my recovery, I went off the pill, and then at a certain point, I think it was like maybe 6 months into my recovery, I started getting really bad skin again and went back on the pill. And it was like a snap of fingers, like a switch had just flipped in my mind, and I suddenly was just like straight back in the mindset of disordered eating and throwing up and binging and all of that. And I remember being so confused, like what has possibly happened? Like I've done so much work to overcome all of this. Like how has this happened? And I went to my naturopath, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't want to be like this. I don't like this. Like, help me. And she was like, okay, let's sit down. What have you eaten? What's changed? Talk me through everything. And she was like, I just don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then she looked at me and she was like, you haven't gone back on the pill, have you? And I was like, yep. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, no, you need to go back off that. And I literally stopped it, and it was like, and I realized the entire time I'd struggled with an eating disorder, I was on the pill. And I was like, what? Literally, like, I don't want to put it down to the pill, but I think it was a huge contributing factor. And I will never, ever touch contraception like that ever again. Like, oh my God. Anyways, so maybe food for thought. Those things are really good. As I mentioned before, social media, do a detox. If you're getting triggered, unfollow, mute, whatever you have to do, get rid of them and just follow people that are beneficial for your mindset. Also, think about your friends. Like, you know how they say, like, you are the product of the 5 people that you surround yourself with most, or you're the product of your environment. Think about what your environment is. What does your environment say about you? If you're hanging out with people, girls that are bragging about not eating and, oh, I haven't eaten anything in 3 days, like that was the kind of friends that I was surrounding myself with. And it is so fucking triggering and toxic and just not good for you. The people that you want to surround yourself with is people that are adding value to your life and stimulating you to grow and expand and having a healthy influence on you. And if your friends are engaging in toxic habits and it's like this, who can be the most skinny, or like, fuck that. Honestly, let it go. And I promise to you that you will be so much happier with less people around you. Like, don't worry about those kind of people. You don't want to be surrounding yourself with that. And it's, I think something that I had to get used to throughout this recovery process was that in having less friends, that didn't make me any less of a person. And I thought that if I didn't have physical people influencing me I thought that the people that I surrounded myself had to be physical people. And I just want you to know that it doesn't have to be. It can be on social media. It can be books. It can be podcasts, reading, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be physical people. It can be calling your friends. It can be like that long distance best friend, or, you know, it doesn't have to be physical as well. So yeah, think about what your environment says about you, the content that you're consuming, that kind of thing. Next thing I would say is mindset shifts. So there's a lot of mindset shifts that I made that really, really helped me. And I'm going to list the most pivotal ones. So I found that I was intolerant to gluten and dairy. And in saying to myself, you can't eat that, I found it really triggering, and it would make me feel restricted. And at some point I would then go and binge on that and then throw up. And so I made the shift of, instead of saying you can't eat that, I started saying to myself, it's not that you can't eat that, you can eat that, but I don't like the way that it makes me feel. And that really just gave me the power back to be like, I can eat it if I want to, but I don't like the way that it makes me feel, and I don't have to have that, and I'm choosing not to have that. And that honestly just like changed my entire perspective on it, because I started seeing those foods as not, you can't have that, but why would I put that into my body if it makes me feel like shit? That like changed my life. Also, eating when you're sitting down, I found that getting bloated, I found it really triggering. And so there's a lot of things that contribute to bloating, like stress, standing up while you're eating, not mindfully eating. So sitting down, not watching TV, just being really present in the moment, like being grateful for the food that's in front of you. And yeah, just being quite present. Also putting your fork down in between bites, like just be a lot more mindful and present with the food that you're consuming. And when you get full, stop eating. Like, another really good thing to do is leaving food on your plate. And if you're somebody that grew up in a household where you were praised for finishing everything on your plate, you might think that that's like needed, but you actually don't have to. You can stop eating when you're full, and there's no difference between finishing it and not finishing it. That was another thing that I really had to overcome, is I would eat everything on my plate because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm wasting money if I don't eat all of this. And the reality is you've bought it anyway. There is no difference between finishing it and making yourself feel sick and stopping when you're full. Like, choose the one that's going to make you feel better. You don't have to eat anything. And if you're eating it because you don't want to waste money, then that comes down to a money mindset, and that's also a whole nother thing. Another thing is journaling. I feel like that is just always such a good thing to do, and just an outlet. It's an energy shift. So if you find yourself feeling really triggered, just journaling and writing down all of the emotions, and that will instantly get it from your head on out and help you to kind of move past that and process the emotions that are going on. Affirmations was another huge one for me. So I've shared a lot about this, but I remember when at the start of my recovery journey, I literally couldn't even look in the mirror and say I am beautiful. Like, it literally made me cry. And I remember I like would, at the start, I would cry when I would say it, and then I would laugh at myself because it felt stupid. And then eventually it was easy enough that I was like, yeah, like, I'm beautiful, like, as if, like, sorry, who would ever argue with that? And yeah, so I started off with really, really basic ones and then progressed to like more complex ones. Like, I am a smart, intelligent person, and when I don't know the answers, I always find them with ease, or whatever, you know, like more complex ones. But write out all of the negative beliefs that you have about yourself and then turn it into a positive belief, so a positive affirmation. And to make those affirmations stronger, you can attach a feeling to it. So for me, it might be, I am a very smart and intelligent person. It helps me have success within my business, and that feels empowering and strong to me. That is a way more powerful affirmation than I am smart and intelligent. But just starting off with the really basic ones is going to help you progress to the more complex ones and believing those, like really, truly taking those on and embodying those beliefs. But yeah, I would say that those were huge and just like so transformational for me in my journey. And the last thing I'm going to kind of talk about is how to handle binge eating episodes. So I know that this is something that I've struggled with throughout my past, and I think that it's a really vicious cycle in the binging, the guilty, like the habits that then follow a binge, like restricting yourself or throwing up or whatever it is. I want you to, if you ever have a relapse of binging, try doing nothing. Don't beat yourself up. Don't like journal about it or get the emotions out somewhere, like have some kind of an outlet that's healthy and processing, but don't do anything else beyond that. Literally just, it happened. It's okay. I forgive myself. We move on and see what happens. Because if you can give yourself understanding, forgive yourself, like say something positive to yourself, talk to yourself as if you're your own best friend or your own daughter, you are like healing that journey for yourself, and you will move past it a lot quicker than if you were to then punish yourself and restrict and not eat, and then you're just going to go back through it again and again. So practice just doing nothing. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be mean. Like literally journal, process it, recognize it, forgive her, talk to her how you would talk to your own daughter, and move on. Anyway, I hope that helps at least one of you, and that is my best tips in recovering from an eating disorder or disordered eating habits. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Bye.